Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. You could say this was a pretty good way to start the Monday. It looked like the Sunshine News. Sunshine was moving down as CEO of Grayscale, where Marty Grunberg worked. It looked like he was going to quit. I thought, okay, but I didn't. Things really changed when we heard rumors that these things were going to be passed on Monday afternoon, and it's clear that's when Eric sent that tweet. We talked on the phone for 30 minutes about how to word that tweet because we knew it would have an effect on the market. It's pretty crazy. Now we're here. It's been 8 days since senior Bloomberg ETF expert Eric Ballina sent out a tweet that caused a huge stir on Twitter about the SEC's possible approval of spot Ethereum ETFs. A lot of people were surprised by Eric's post because they had given up on the anti-crypto agency, allowing more spot exchange-traded funds based on cryptocurrencies. The Bloomberg expert tweeted that he and James Cart were raising the chance that the spot Ether ETF would be approved from 25% to 75%. The reason Eric said they had to cut back to 25% earlier was because the SEC had been very quiet about ETF files. In March, even people who wanted to become issuers like Cathie Wood, CEO of ARK Invest, were losing hope. Cathie said that the chances of the Ether ETFs being accepted were going down. Being in touch with the SEC was a sign to Bitcoin that something was likely to happen with the spot Bitcoin ETF. Late in March, Cathie told Blockworks that wouldn't happen now. It came as a surprise when, just a few days before the May 23rd deadline, the agency asked exchanges to make changes to their 19 before files. Now that the approvals are done, investors in cryptocurrencies are guessing how spot Ether ETFs will impact the biggest altcoin in the market as a whole, especially when compared to the spot Bitcoin ETF. Here are some of the most important parts of the Bloomberg analyst's discussion with Blockworks, which Eric and James talk about together. Mike Aiello, if you want to see more movies like this, please subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thanks, and have fun. Let's get this straight. I have people I talk to often who I talk to everyone we talk to. Eric talks to people just like we do. There's something like a Venn chart. In the middle are people who are active in the space or somewhat aware of what's going on because they know different people who are involved. For months, we hadn't heard anything that made us think that approval was going to happen, right? It seemed like everything we heard said it wasn't going to happen. Things changed on Monday afternoon. It sounded like different people were talking, like something was going on. This is crazy. We naturally called out to everyone we could think of, but not a single person replied. They also said that they didn't hear from some people. Some people just said, yeah, it's going to happen. Following this, Eric and I talked on the phone and pretty much worked out what to do next. That's when he sent out the tweet that made the market go crazy. It's clear that we think that was a change in politics. It was a change in DC, and it wasn't just the Biden administration or the Democratic Party leadership. It doesn't matter. From our point of view, this was a political change. There are a lot of votes in DC that show Trump is now in favor of crypto. What does this mean in terms of mechanics? A 19 before is just a change to the rules. The exchange is simply telling the SEC, we want to change this rule so that we can do something. When it comes to Bitcoin ETFs, we want our platforms to be able to trade them. In this case, all we want is to be able to sell Ethereum ETFs on our exchanges. There are a lot of steps that need to be taken before the SEC can fully let these ETFs go. A different part of the SEC needs to sign off on it. We don't think that's a matter of if only of when. Yes, that is where we are sitting now. I'll take this one. It is not normal. We talk about ETFs. Look, we're used to writing about things like Vanguard, ETFs that track yield stocks and junk bonds. So we're not used to getting caught up in politics during election years. But it looks like that's what happened here. As you can see, the pendulum has been swinging pretty quickly. The Democrats were very happy against cryptic and saw the issue of slow moving away from them as important. Then moderates like Mark Cuban spoke out and said, hey, you guys want Trump to win, you better not give up this issue because this is a big deal for us, and being against crypto won't help you get more votes. Even if they didn't, those people would vote for the Democrats. Being so against crypto hurts you though, and this is important in a very close race. For that reason, once more, we don't have a smoking gun, but everything points to what James said. It was about politics. That's probably why we didn't have votes. That's why in the spot Bitcoin ETF race we did include some politics in our calculations. We also thought that the case was a major factor. But this stuff does matter in the end. But I am a little confused because, as I said, I would have been lower than James at 25 just 1 week ago. I'd have been, slim to none. Then to go to what's happening. That's the reason the price changed. And I don't think much happened with Bitcoin when we got these small bits of good news. It felt like we were slowly getting closer to what we wanted, which was acceptance. It was like, this isn't going to happen, it's taking place. And once more, everything is like what I said, going into the crypto world is like riding a roller ride without a helmet. It was strange and different from anything I've seen before. Eric doesn't think Ethereum ETFs will do as well in the future as Bitcoin ETFs. In earlier interviews and tweets, he said that Ether ETFs coming after Bitcoin ETFs was like an American alternative rock band called Sister Hazel playing after a bigger band called Nirvana, who was praised by reviewers and sold more than 15 million records around the world. His estimates have changed a little, though. They used to be 10 to 15% of the assets of Bitcoin ETFs. Now they're 15 to 20%. Kind of like what you said in your question, this isn't how things should be done. Making the rules for what's important and what will happen are part of politics. Politics shouldn't really affect what should and shouldn't happen. Okay, depending on things like Republicans vs. Democrats, they might put ESG and other things ahead of fair exposure. Politics are always a part of it, but people have been upset about how political this has become for a long time, even in the last few years. Okay, also let's be clear, this didn't make sense to me or a lot of other people. From a legal and logical point of view, the way they were doing things made it seem like a political decision was made first, and then they backed into it legally. This shouldn't be how the SEC is run, in my opinion. But it's clear that's not how it's being run by this government. This more than anything else proves it. I'm not as sad as I was after all. I looked at a lot of numbers here. I'm from the US. What I look at most of the time is the US market, and 11% of the assets of Bitcoin futures ETFs are in Ether futures. And silver ETFs have about 10% of the assets of gold ETFs. That's about 10% of where I was. Now, Ether 16% when you go to Hong Kong. It's 28 for Canada, 29 for Switzerland, and 28 for me. And Sweden got 37. It's not clear to me why. You should know that the futures started at a strange time. Maybe we shouldn't worry about that, or at least if I add them all up, I get to about 20 to 25%. More than 15% to 20% of the assets are being moved. Right now, I can't go above $20 because I think there will be a lot of 6040 buyers who are happy with Bitcoin as their crypto hot sauce. To get boomers to buy Ethereum ETFs, Eric thinks that it needs a catchy one-liner like Bitcoin's digital gold line. One problem with Ether ETFs and getting into the 6040 boomer market is that it's hard to sum up their goal or worth in a law that's easy to understand. Adam Cochran says that Ethereum is like the internet of money or digital oil. It's the gas that makes decentralized systems work, and it provides value and benefits. In other news, a Bitcoin exchange in Tokyo called Mount Georgia that shut down suddenly in 2014 started moving Bitcoin worth billions of dollars earlier today. This has led to rumors that it is about to give the coins to its debtors. The price of Bitcoin dropped from more than $70,000 to $68,000. If the coins are given out, there will likely be more price changes, but many people